In the headlines, an effort to get overseas missions involved in pushing the Bridgetown Initiative. The Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners issues a new warning about COVID-19. The House of Assembly postpones its sittings as tributes continue for the former Prime Minister of Barbados, Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford. And in sports, Shea Hope addresses the Windies fan base after yesterday's disappointing defeat to the Netherlands.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Shane Seeley. Leading our news, support continues to build for the Bridgetown Initiative, the billion-dollar climate financing deal to help small island developing states. The latest to back the plan, conceptualized by Prime Minister Mia Motley, is the Global Center on Adaptation, an international organization based in the Netherlands. That group acts as a solutions broker to accelerate action and support for climate adaptation. CEO Patrick Verkuyen has lauded the move by Prime Minister Motley, likening the initiative to the landmark Bretton Woods deal made 80 years ago. That Bretton Woods agreement really refers to the two entities, the International Monetary Fund and the expanded World Bank Group, created in 1944, at a conference of world leaders held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, in the U.S. Now, Barbados' ambassador to the United States and the OAS, His Excellency Noel Lynch, has been following developments with the Bridgetown Initiative, and he believes it needs to be top priority for all overseas missions.
This is the first time that the United States and Canada have co-sponsored such a resolution, or any resolution being tabled by a small developing country in the OAS. But in addition to that, this is the first time, and the U.S. ambassador said this in his remarks at the General Assembly, that they've never attached their name to anything with climate change in it. And therefore, if you can get the United States and Canada to sign on to a resolution of that kind, enhance, right, access to enhanced climate finance, it means it really makes a difference for all of us.
The next move, according to Ambassador Lynch, is for the repurposing of international financial institutions, or IFIs, to support the Bridgetown Initiative.
What needs to happen, though, next is that the operatives coming out of that resolution, we must ensure that they are followed through on. And for example, our constituency lead in most of the IFIs is Canada. The people that can really make the difference in terms of repurposing the IFIs is the United States. And they have agreed, their governments have agreed that this is a good initiative and that it should go on. And therefore, I can't tell you much more. I think that says it all. That the United States and Canada would want to join a resolution put forward by Barbados at the OAS General Assembly is historic in itself.
Ambassador Lynch there speaking exclusively to CBC News. Now, as world leaders prepare for the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference of Parties in Dubai in December, Barbados wants action and not just promises on the issue. Prime Minister Mia Motley says time is of the essence, stressing no country is excluded from the impact of the climate crisis. She was speaking at the 14th annual meeting of the New Champions in Tianjin, China, as part of a panel on braving the headwinds, rewiring growth amid fragility, hosted by the World Economic Forum.
The reality is that while we focus on the increased capital for the multilateral development banks and the regional development banks to help governments with adaptation, it is that private sector unlocking of funding that is going to help mitigate and to keep temperatures below 1.5. I do believe that it may require some countries stepping forward and not only putting in liquid cash. In some instances, it will be SDRs. We probably need a governance mechanism that anchors this trust or catalytic fund in the IMF and the World Bank, because that then means that those countries that want to use SDRs won't have that as a liability on their balance sheet.
Ms. Motley intends to press for a meeting between the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the COP28 president, and private sector entities.
The private sector funding that is probably needed will be about $1.5 trillion. which means that if we can raise at least 300 billion, 400 billion, we can leverage to be able to get that unlocked. As I said, it doesn't matter where mitigation takes place.
Back at home, the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners, BAMP, says the latest COVID-19 death total is a wake-up call. 10 people died over the past 2 weeks, and as a result, and in that time, 419 new cases were also recorded out of 1,301 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. 7 of the victims have been hospitalized. To date, 606 people have died in Barbados as a result of COVID-19. President of BAMP, Dr. Linda Williams, is reminding Barbadians COVID-19 has not gone away, and those that are vulnerable must be protected. Dr. Williams was a guest on CBC TV8's Morning Report.
It seems now, we're in the stage where no one wants to hear that. Life has gone back to normal. We don't want to act as if there's anything going on. But it's still there, and there's a new variant, the XBB variant, which was in China maybe at the end of May, and I expected that perhaps that would also cause increased transmission here eventually. We don't have any proof. I don't have any proof of what variant is responsible at this point in time, but we know that there was a more transmissible variant that was on the horizon. So the fact that, we are here now is not entirely surprising.
The man responsible for facilitating the delivery of the island's first batch of COVID-19 vaccines has been conferred one of the island's top awards. Gurdit Bath was presented with the Honorary Order of the Republic by President Her Excellency the Most Honorable Dame Sandra Mason during a ceremony at State House. Mr. Bath played a role in facilitating the donation of 100,000 Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines from India in February 2021, which kick-started the national COVID-19 vaccine drive. Mr. Bath, who is originally from India but has been a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis for 2 decades, spoke to the media after the presentation.
Originally, I had discussion with Roosevelt Scarrett, the Prime Minister of Dominica. So he suggested me, I have a relation with India, if I can approach India, and I talked to India, if they can provide vaccine. At that time, vaccine was like gold dust. But then I managed to speak to Indian government with the suggestion of Scarrett, which the India government said, okay, we will provide, and then Barbados, and then the rest of the Caribbean.
And Dame Sandra expressed appreciation on behalf of all Barbadians. While the Queen Elizabeth Hospital is refuting what it calls baseless allegations suggesting a higher than usual number of dialysis patients have met their demise in recent days. The message making the rounds on social media indicates their deaths have been caused by a number of non-working dialysis machines. In a statement, the hospital says the acute kidney unit, also known as the dialysis unit, caters to 66 patients with end-stage renal disease, requiring life-saving hemodialysis 6 days per week. It explained the unit has 24 working dialysis machines, 22 of which are in use daily, while the other 2 are backup machines and are ready for immediate use should the need arise. According to the release, there has been no need for the backup machines to be used in recent times, as there have been no machine failures. Additionally, it says for the month of June, laboratory tests show no evidence of contamination within the department. Management has also confirmed that for 2023, all scheduled regular and deep cleaning has been executed in full and on time. The House of Assembly postpones today's sitting. We'll tell you why after this break. A flash flood watch is in effect for Barbados. This alert was issued at 20 minutes to 6 this evening and will be updated or terminated at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning or sooner if conditions warrant. Maximum rainfall accumulations of 20 to 40 millimeters in heavy showers are expected over the next few hours. The Met Office is warning residents and visitors to be prepared for strong runoff from higher elevations and soil erosion. Traffic delays are also likely. We'll tell you more in our weather report later in the news. The Barbados Police Service is at this hour investigating a robbery in the parking area of the netball stadium at Waterford St. Michael, where a woman's car was stolen on Monday night. The incident took place around 9:45. Police in a statement reveal a female driver who was alone at the time was sitting in her parked motorcar when she was initially confronted by a man who was armed with an object and ordered her out of the vehicle. She was physically assaulted by one of the men before she was robbed of her vehicle and its contents by 3 individuals. The men got into the vehicle and fled the scene. More details on this story as they become available. In the next 4 to 5 weeks, the 3,295 students should know what secondary schools they will be attending in September. Officials today told the media the results for today's Barbados Secondary School Entrance Examination, also known as the 11+ exam, should be ready in that time. Our team was out on the road capturing some of the action.
Amid overcast skies and occasional showers, parents and guardians gathered outside centres across the island to support thousands of children who wrote this year's Barbados Secondary School entrance examination. In keeping with tradition, they assembled from early in the day and returned when the test ended after 1.
I'm waiting on my son. I just told him, relax and do his best. Anything he does, we'll be grateful for.
I definitely told her to do her best, that's all we ask, and once she does that, we'll be contented.
I'm waiting on Miriam David, that was here in 2013 doing the exam to support Nehemiah Smith, her elder sister, and now she is doing exam 2023. And this is Miriam David that did exam here also. Miriam was here supporting her at St. Michael when she did exams.
The young ones are excited it's all over.
It was decent also. All the subjects. Everything was decent for me, especially since I did one on topics already in composition. Math wasn't that hard. It was decent too. So I don't really think I did that bad. It was challenging, but I got through well.
What parts were challenging?
Some in the math, but it was decent. Everything went well. It was great. The English gave me a little bit of trouble, but I got through all of the questions. And the math and the grammar, it was perfect and decent, so I liked it, all of it, and I tried my best to get into the school I want. The grammar was easy too. The composition was easy too. Everything was easy. Competition, easy, but I really got finished. The English, really easy, and the math, tricky. I left out one question.
And education officials, including Minister K. McConney, are also happy with how the day unfolded.
We have deployed senior education officers and education officers to ensure that the process was followed, that protocols were followed, and that everyone was doing what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to. So far, we have heard nothing from any of our senior education officers or education officers that will indicate that they had any difficulty with process or with protocols. Students who were supposed to be were there, and we are happy to say that it appears as if this 2023 Barbados Secondary Schools entrance examination has gone forward relatively smoothly.
Ms. McConney adds public consultations to determine the future of the examination are set to get underway after the end of the Crop Over Festival. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Thank you, Rianne. The House of Assembly this morning postponed its sitting until next week as a sign of respect following the death of the former Prime Minister Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford. Acting Prime Minister Santi Bradshaw made the announcement before the House got down to formal business. Barbados is currently observing 3 days of national mourning for the country's 4th Prime Minister.
We felt that it was only fitting that as we are in the period of mourning from yesterday until tomorrow, that the business of this chamber would be best suited to be postponed until perhaps next week, because we will acknowledge the period of mourning as a tribute to Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford. And therefore, I beg to move the adjournment of the House and all business that would be conducted therein today until the 4th of July at 10 a.m.
Ms. Bradshaw revealed she met with Sir Lloyd's wife and 2 children yesterday, where she expressed condolences on behalf of the government and people of Barbados. The acting Prime Minister also confirmed the House would formally pay tribute to the late Prime Minister at a later date.
At the appropriate time, as is the formality within this Parliament, we will pay tribute to Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford in a manner that is fitting of the office which he held as Prime Minister of this country. And the arrangements with respect to his funeral, as you can appreciate, those discussions are taking place with Cabinet Office, but he will be afforded the usual ceremonial proceedings that will affiliate with his office as former Prime Minister of this country.
And more tributes continue to pour in for the late Barbadian Prime Minister Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford, as the regional group in CARICOM says it's deeply saddened at his passing. Sir Lloyd passed away yesterday, you remember, yesterday morning just after 7 at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The former Democratic Labour Party Cabinet Minister Chris Sinclair has reminisced about working with Sir Lloyd as a young Democrat and his embrace of young politicians.
Sandiford chose me invited me to become his personal assistant when I was just 21 years old. In fact, I had just turned 21, October the 1st. The election was January 1991, I believe. And, within those weeks, as you say, with a single degree, very practically unknown, other than that I was a student at community college. And he invited me to do so. And in fact, in that same year, that same period, he appointed David Thompson as one of the youngest ever ministers of government. I believe it was the youngest up to that time, at least. I think Prime Minister Motley might have eclipsed that subsequently, but David Thompson was then the youngest minister ever. I believe he was appointed Minister of Community Development. And then we had a whole array of young people, but not only young people, also women.
Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey now represents the constituency formerly held by Sir Lloyd, St. Michael South. He described the late Prime Minister as a man dedicated to his constituents.
When I first came to the constituency and I started canvassing and I was putting in my time, the older people would say to me that I remind them of Sir Lloyd. And it was a comparison that, to me, was a compliment, because they would always say he spent a lot of time in the constituency, he knew everybody by name, and so on. There's not an accusation that one should try to get away from. So I was happy to be associated with Sir Lloyd. I mean, even now, there's hardly any person in St. Michael South who you will hear say something bad about Sir Lloyd.
And political analyst Peter Wickham, in reflecting on the life of Sir Lloyd, says the late leader helped stimulate his interest in politics. Mr. Wickham, who then identified as a young Democrat, says Sir Lloyd as a teacher was always humble. He says the evaluation of a Prime Minister should not focus on mistakes. He adds Sir Lloyd leaves a legacy.
He wrote 2 books, and in your lead-up, you didn't mention the fact that he was, for a time, a research fellow at the Institute of Social and Economic Research at the University of the West Indies at that time. He was the first former Prime Minister that took up such a role. I was fortunate to have been working there at the time, and that was essentially when he wrote the first book on politics, which to me is now still the major introductory text to Caribbean politics that we all benefited from. He subsequently wrote a book on economics, which I had less interaction with. But I would say that is part of his legacy, because he did write a bit, probably not as much as I would have liked.
The National Council on Substance Abuse is being advised to speak more publicly about its services and success stories. The challenge from the Minister of Home Affairs, Wilfred Abrams. He made the comment as the NCSA upgrades its operations with a new dedicated training room, life skills center, and the Ishmael and Margaret counseling rooms.
NCSA caters not only to those who are facing the direct challenges from the substance use and abuse, but also to their families. It is a whole of family, whole of person approach. So please get that message out there. I challenge you who are here that when you go and you talk about NCSA, it's not just for persons who are dealing themselves with drug use, but let families know they can approach NCSA. If you do not know how to actually deal with somebody who is suffering or who is a drug abuser, you can come here and we can help you to know how to approach them, help you to know how to bring it up, help you to know how to challenge them to seek assistance for themselves.
Mr. Abrams also challenged more employers to use the council's outreach education program for its staff members.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Sports time now, and for that we go over to Damien Best in the sports studio. What do you have for us tonight, Damien?
Yeah, good evening to you, Shane. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. We're going to start with some CBC news. Barbados women's hockey team registered their first win of the 2023 Central American and Caribbean Games today with a 3-2 result in their opening Pool B match versus Bermuda. Scoring for Barbados were Nakira Downs in the 3rd and 34th minutes and captain Ayana Wilson in the 52nd. The result gives the Barbados women's team 3 vital points, as only the top 2 teams from each pool will advance to the semi-finals. Now in swimming news, Adara Stoddard has qualified for the final of the women's 200-meter breaststroke, advancing from the heats with the 8th fastest time of 2 minutes 43.98 seconds. Meanwhile, Louis Sebastian Weeks is into the B final of the men's 50-meter breaststroke after finishing 11th overall from the heats in 29.38 seconds. In shooting, in the men's 10-meter air pistol, Dave Seal and Marwin Bino missed qualification to the final as they finished 12th and 24th, respectively, in the first round. And in surfing, Kai St. George didn't make it to the men's longboard repechage final as he was 3rd in his round 2 heat. Well, the stage is set for the finals of the National Senior Games road tennis competition after the semis were completed last night at the Dighton Park Roach facility in Bush Hall. Here's a look at some of the sections. Semi-finals night, ladies first up. Michelle Griffith closest to the screen playing Mariama Eastman, 18-19. The scoreline in favor of Eastman, moves one away now from securing the first game. And indeed, excellent rally from these two with Griffith in defensive mode. Eastman punching, comes into the court and finishes the job. Ferocious, 21-18 in this 2 best of 3 showdown. Eastman trails 6-10 in the second, with Griffith making some subtle adjustments, hoping to force a third. 18-20 now, Eastman with the serve. The return is long, 19-20. Then a real gift from Griffith, who seemed to be in self-destruct mode. We're tied at 20 all. Another return into the net, 21-10. Eastman on the doorstep. Without hesitation, Eastman comes into the court. Griffith only blocking. That's out, 20-20. Mariama Eastman into the 40 to 45 age group finals. On to the men now, 46 to 50 age group. Matchup featuring Abby Clark in the far court versus St. Elmo Lord. Lord picks out the corner pocket with precision. 4-7 at the stage. However, Clark would build on that solid foundation. Lord helping the cause. Goes agonizingly long. Game point to Clark. Service from Lord is wide. 21-15 then in the first game. A switch of ends. Entertaining rally brewing. St. Elmo coming into the court to test Clark. Which way will he go? The backarm return is off target. But Clark seemed to be just toying with his opponent after some sweetly timed forearm drives. He produced a slice that cut St. Elmo deep. 7-3 at this stage. Another riveting rally between these two. Fluency of Clark in the backarm. Footwork was on point. St. Elmo hanging tough. Who wants it the most? The net settles the argument. At 17-6, Clark would speed his way to match point. St. Elmo sent packing with a soul. 21-6. Clark heading to the final. One of the highlights of the night. The 56-plus showdown featuring Jeffrey Bing Crosby Lane closest to the screen versus Daniel King. Lane with his animated back arm shot whets the appetite of the spectators. But King was just as lethal. Opts to go down the line with pace. Lane, a spectator. Keen battle at 18-17, but King will wrap up the first game despite some dogged resistance from Lane, who showed he hasn't lost his touch. King sealing the first, 21-19. Things setting up nicely for the second. A switch of ends didn't mean a switch of fortunes, as King kept his eyes on the prize, repelling everything Lane had to offer. He gifted 2 more points to Lane, but King booked his passage into the finals in 2 straight. 21-19, 21-15. Excellent night of road tennis action.
And step to Daniel King. He'll move on to the finals.
52 records were broken or established at the National Senior Games Track and Field Program, which ended over the weekend at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex. As far as the top award winners were concerned, Norman Jones was the most outstanding male athlete, as he set records in 4 events to amass 40 points in the 85 to 89 age group. Meanwhile, the most outstanding female title was shared between Amber Cumberbatch in the 40 to 44 category and Shirley Harper in the 75 to 79s, both totaling 40 points and setting 3 new records. We have some highlights from the 100 meters in some of those age group categories.
We are with the 75 to 79 age category. Yes.
That is.
So we have.
And they're ready to go, and they're off.
And I'm going to give Shirley Harper there in lane number 4.
And number 37.
She has
form. Destroys the field.
She has good running form.
Oh, my goodness me. Is she going to the Olympics next year, Perry? Oh, my goodness. That was a commanding performance.
You'll like to see the time there. It looks... I'm seeing a 14 point. So, I'm right? No, not a 14 point. But it looks like it could be lower than the 17.80.
Lane number 2 is Mark Maynard. Lane number 3 is John Beale. Lane number 4, Burley Williams. And lane number 5 is Mark Norville. I have Mr. Norville to take this one, Perry. I don't know about you. From what I saw earlier today.
Mark Norville?
Yes, I got Mr. Norville to take this one. And as expected, a clean start, and he's powering down the track.
Oh, yes.
He's really going to dismiss the field here. Look at his arms and his legs go. Poor victory in motion. Easy like Sunday morning. Shuts down the afterburners, and he crosses the line now. What an impressive run.
So this is a 70 to 74, Phil. As we get ready for this one, and there they go off and running. And here what is off on a flyer.
I think she's going to easily win this one. I don't see anybody else challenging her. Look at her arms. Look at her stride.
You got to watch the athlete.
Very easy.
And lane number 7 coming in second place. His fight is on for second. It's going to go to the athlete. Lane number 5, that's Angela Holder.
And they're off and running, and let's see who's going to really thunder down the track here. It looks like Hugh Fitt, and in the middle it looks like Aubrey Backett as well, coming on the outside as well. It looks like George Straker. It looks like a humdinger of a battle, but I give Straker the nod as he crosses the line first.
Lane 6 should be Marlene Williams, and in lane number 7 should be Beverly Walters. A nice clean start. Nonetheless, we're going to try to call this one. And the athlete outside in lane number 7 from Bamsack is blowing away the field as she is driving to the finish line. She's going to win it now. Lane number 7. And there they go, off and running. On the outside, though, Rodney Husbands, I forgot about him. And on the inside, Roland Waith. Storming past everyone now. He's going to win this one. Down on the line. Wraith over Walters over Husbands.
The Business Report, brought to you by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, a department of the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, supporting young entrepreneurs from idea to enterprise.
In business tonight, we hear that what started as a side hustle has turned into a main money earner for a young Barbadian woman. In tonight's Yes Business Report, our news team went up close with esthetician Rashida Primus. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Microshading
Clip-in hair extensions and creating a safe space for our clients are some of the elements which make up Styles by Primus. The 6-year-old business is the brainchild of esthetician Rashida Primus. A product of the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, she told the Yes Business Report the response from the public has been good.
So I've always had a love for beauty, and as an esthetician, I like to be able to create a safe space for clients to feel beautiful about themselves. Basically to help them enhance their eyelashes, their eyebrows, and their lips. And I can help them become their best self because they feel their best self. I would have started in corporate Barbados, and what would have started as a side hustle for me basically would have blossomed into a full-fledged business. After the feedback from customers was quite positive, and I would have taken that opportunity to make my business to become a legitimate business by registering my business with Kaipo and sought out help from the Yes team, and that in turn would have definitely let me level up my business throughout the years.
And with the busy crop over season underway, the young esthetician says several innovations are in place for customers.
We have something called a summer lash set. It's a special right now on the lash extensions, so you can basically get a more glamorous set just for the season because you're going to be out partying and you're going to have Kaduma coming up. So we definitely have that along with hair extensions as well, that we have clip-in hair extensions and tape-ins that you can basically change your hair quite more often than you would if you want to stay nice and fresh for different parties, etc. And we also have micro shading if you want to have a more semi-permanent eyebrow or lips.
Partnerships are among some of the areas of development for her business, which the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme has helped to facilitate.
One thing that would have made me successful was seeking out partnerships. And yes, I am good at my craft. However, I would have realized that I would have needed assistance in marketing my business better and managing my finances. And one step I would have taken would have been to reach out to the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme to basically get the required assistance, and that would have allowed me to expand and grow my business throughout the years.
Classes in eyelash extensions are planned for August, but Ms. Primus has her eyes on the export market.
I was actually told about Export Barbados up to this morning, so I'm definitely going to take that opportunity to reach out to them and gather some more information and to be a part of that team.
Ms. Primus is also hoping to enhance her knowledge by attending international exhibitions and to produce online videos for public education. Trevor Thorpe for the Yes Business Report.
Well, that's our time for this edition of CBC NewsNight. I'm Shane Seeley. Good night. Thanks for visiting us. Now, if you want to see more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can always go to cbc.bb for the latest news and current affairs.